Today we're going to discover a little bit about the Thrustmaster T248. I originally pre-ordered this wheel from Thrustmaster. They could not come through with the delivery on the launch date, and I ended up canceling that order and ordering it directly from Amazon. I got it 2 or 3 days after its release in August, and I've been using it for trucking, sim racing, and all kinds of things in between. And now we're here to talk about it. Let's get started. So we can all read what, Thrustmaster says on their site. In their news on their webpage, basically goes through all of the functions of the wheel and pedals. It's a hybrid drive system, basically using gears and belts, whereas the Logitech uses, especially the G29, G920, G27, G25, all used a gear system, which is why it was a lot less fluid than the T248 can be. They say it's 70% more powerful than their 150 and their TMX. Their slogan is "Be the master of each track." Again, kind of going towards the dynamic force feedback. You can change this in the menu system on the actual wheel, where you can change the force feedback levels from 1 through 3. They explain a little bit more about the hybrid mechanism, but really not going too in depth, of course. It's also got heart magnetic technology with Hall effect sensors. These are present in the magnetic paddle shifter, as well as removing the dead zones that can occur. There's also the T3PM pedal set, so it's an upgrade to the previous pedal set that was included with the T300. So it has 4 different spring configurations, and you'll be able to easily feel the difference between those spring configurations. They're definitely not as strong of a resistance as their flagship pedals, but these are an excellent starter pedal set here. They claim 25 action buttons. This is due to the toggle on the left-hand side, which will change the right-hand side toggle to 4 sets of 2 buttons. It started at $399 in the US. Again, this is the T248. It was the wheel and pedal set. Does not include a shifter at all, like the like you could have bought the G27 with a shifter included. Logitech doesn't do that either anymore. There's a couple of different options for shifters as well, but right now we're talking about the T248 in itself. This is the technology and some of the pieces that they're using, and now we're going to get into what it feels like. As you'll notice, there's a few different buttons here that are on this particular device. On the left-hand side, you'll have 1 through 4 selections here that allows this button on the right-hand side to be 2 buttons on 1, 2 buttons on 2, and 2 buttons on 3, and 2 buttons on 4. You have multiple buttons available for whatever you'd like to push. There's a down button this side, which is 1 singular button. And again, that one that goes up changes it 1 through 4. The one thing that I would say is the wheel that is fairly quiet, the gear shifting is quite loud. As you can hear, that's pretty loud. It may bother people in another room or even the same room, of course. In addition, there's mode selection, so you can change between PC and PS4, PS5 on this particular one. The Xbox one also has either Xbox or PC. This particular model is the PS4, PS5 model, which is the one that came out first. There's the menu button. You can show which display. This will show RPM or speed, depending on what kind of game and what the compatibility is. There's also the directional pad on the left-hand side. You have L2, L3, R2, R3. The shifters are R1 and L1. It's a solid feeling wheel. It's much more advanced in the force feedback area than any of the Logitech versions that I've had, the G27 or the G29. A lot of people complain about the plastic wheel. It's kind of some sort of polymer. It's a little bit squishy on top. It suits me well with even with bare hands, because the leather on the Logitechs, there was stitching and that did bother my hands. This does not do that for me. This would work well for gloves if you were doing some sim racing more specifically. This is much more so a racing wheel. However, it works fine for American Truck Simulator and things like that. But if that's the only thing that you do play, then I don't think that this is necessarily a choose over a Logitech wheel, because you're going to be getting a Logitech wheel for $349 plus the shifter at $60, so it puts you at $410. Or this particular wheel, which is with the pedals, is $400, and the shifter here minus the ball on top, of course, is $200 by itself. So you're looking at $600 of wheel and shifter, as opposed to $400 for essentially the same thing if you're only going to be doing light simulation of, trucking and things like that. But if you are into the racing, the sim racing portion, you definitely want to be looking into this as a kind of starter wheel that's going to give you good feel for the road and the car, as well as if you're doing a little bit more relaxing things like playing American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator 2, this is going to give you a better feeling overall. But like I said, if you're only buying this for American Truck Simulator and that kind of thing, really not necessary over and above the Logitech offerings. In conclusion, I think that the T248 is an excellent starter wheel for its price point. If you are concentrating on sim racing. Personally, in my opinion, the steering wheel itself, the material, though it is plastic and some sort of like rubber polymer maybe or something like that, would be uncomfortable for some people. I do work with my hands all day, so they do have a little bit maybe extra callus on them or something like that, which doesn't really bother me insofar as gripping it over time. I don't wear gloves, but obviously if you did wear gloves with this wheel for sim racing, it wouldn't be a big issue. However, the constant rubbing of the G27 and G29 with the stitching seam did cause me that irritation. So I just found that pretty interesting that other people were complaining about the build of this wheel relating to the steering wheel, yet I have less problem with it. So again, that's just a personal opinion part. Like I said, I've been using this for, 8 months now. There's been no issues whatsoever with drivers loading firmware. It has not faltered on me one time. You know, I've made mistakes where I've plugged it in after the computer was booted up and then it wasn't recognized in my game, but that was not anybody's fault other than myself. I haven't had any driver issues or issues with the hardware itself. It's always worked, hasn't skipped a beat in those 8 months. And I'm very happy with the purchase. Just the original purchase portion was a bit unfortunate that I didn't get the pre-order in a reasonable time that I felt so, and the fact that I could get it from Amazon right away made, you know, kind of put a damper on that a little bit. But overall, this has been one of the better purchases I've made for my computer in relation to sim racing, and it's even improved American Truck Simulator because of the force feedback difference. You have to use a plugin for the G27, G29 to make it feel like anything in that game, frankly. And this does it on its own. Thanks for joining me today in our look at the T248 by Thrustmaster and whether it's a good option for you as an up-and-coming sim racer with an entry-level wheel. So make sure to keep this one in your sights, because as it drops in price, it's only going to get better, and probably after they finally release their direct drive wheel, maybe we'll see a couple of price drops, and that's going to be something that you're going to want to jump onto if you are entering the sim racing world. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.